Hello. If you're watching this video, it's likely that either you or a close friend or a relative of someone living with pancreatic cancer is looking for ways to help cope and manage through what can be a very challenging and difficult time. My name is Cathy, and I'm a registered nurse who has worked in the field of oncology and palliative care for over 40 years. A big part of my role is helping patients and their families to cope with pancreatic cancer and other cancers that, despite medical advances, remain less optimistic. During this video, brought to you by Wellspring in partnership with Pancreatic Cancer Canada, it is my goal to bring to you information that I've learned from patients over the years about how they coped. I'd like to share with you common feelings and emotions that patients have expressed, and I'm going to provide you with some very helpful ideas that can give hope and find a way forward during a time that can feel quite overwhelming. Every one of us is unique in how we feel and how we manage difficult times in our lives. During these times, we often look for signs to know what we are feeling is normal, and if others have experienced similar reactions. So working with patients with pancreatic cancer and their families over the course of the illness, I've come to know that there are common reactions felt by many. I listen as people share their stories with me. They often talk about feeling uncertain and anxious about the future, fear of suffering, perhaps even feeling angry about a shortened life. Maybe guilt about not paying attention to a subtle symptom, or disbelief that this could possibly be happening. Sadness and grief about the loss of a healthy future is almost universal.
And so my first thought was, my God, I'm going to be gone in 6 months.
Many patients talk at some point about feeling alone, even though they're not physically alone. Some speak of despair. I also see patients talk about positive emotions, such as a feeling of hope that they'll be cured by the treatment or that they will at least have more quality time. Many people hope for a new promising treatment will be discovered in their lifetime. Some people say they experience feeling grateful for their life and a deeper sense of meaning since their diagnosis, knowing how fragile and precious life is. Some are drawn closer to God or their spiritual beliefs. At the same time, people often express conflicting feelings. On one hand, they feel they are lucky to have this day, but on the other, they feel robbed of their future. These emotions can be very exhausting and confusing because not only do they change over time, but people often experience multiple feelings all at once.
I think a pancreatic cancer diagnosis is something like being hit over the head. It's one of the cancers that really hasn't had a lot of success as far as people recovering from it. And it's very difficult to imagine that your whole world has turned upside down.
What I would say to you, and what is important, is to remember that whatever you are feeling is natural. Even if your world feels upside down. It's normal to experience some of these strong emotions, especially in a time that might feel like a crisis. Trying to navigate all of these changes occurring in your life can leave you feeling confused, not knowing which way to turn. Although I can't promise everything will be okay and that things will go back to a normal way of living, I will tell you that most people find ways to cope and adjust to the changes in their lives, even when they know they will be living with the life-limiting illness that they will die from. I'd like to now share with you a few ideas that I've learned from patients that may be helpful to you. I wish I could give you a simple list of what to do to help you cope, but it's important to know that there's no set of way of handling this because you are a unique human being with your own set of values and circumstances. However, it is important to know that there are ways that can help you cope and to live fully. We've all heard of the phrase, knowledge is power. Well, it seems that that is correct. So many times patients have said to me that they feel frightened and scared because they are lacking information about their situation.
When my blood work was off the charts for lipase, not knowing anything about it. I thought that I was going to be dead in 6 months. I started thinking, what should I do to clean up my office? A whole host of things that go through your mind that you ordinarily wouldn't think of. But I think after we got the diagnosis, the real diagnosis, and we started finding out more information, I guess I was too busy trying to get better and to find out the best way to get better to really start going into the depths of despair. Once we started to get more information, I started feeling a little bit better about it and felt as if I had to be my own best advocate. And frankly, my second best advocate, or maybe my primary advocate, was Deborah, who really was remarkable during this whole thing.
Being informed about pancreatic cancer, the treatment options, proper nutritional benefits, side effects, symptom control, emotions, family worries, what to expect over time, and even finances can shift you from feeling in the dark or uncertain to feeling more in control about your situation. It's important for you to talk to your support team about what is on your mind. Ask questions, write them down, so that you feel informed and involved in decision-making along the way. There is a saying, most of us can handle good news, and actually, most of us can handle even bad news, but it's really difficult to handle not knowing. So if you're feeling as if there are unanswered questions, I'm even talking about some of the more difficult questions, such as how long I might have to live. Speak up. I frequently remember when patients told me that when they felt they were a real part of their healthcare team, it made them feel empowered, even when difficult news was being shared. Whether you have a small or large group of friends, family, or community and healthcare providers, we all need people in our lives to rely on. We all need to enjoy our life, to socialize, to feel connected, and to feel part of something bigger. What I've learned through talking with patients is that sometimes they don't hear from family and friends as much as they wished or that they used to, and this leaves them feeling sad and isolated. I've learned that family and friends don't always know how to help or know what to say because they feel sometimes that they're intruding. So instead of picking up the phone, they go silent. But through conversations with patients, what we've discovered is that when they reach out and remind family and friends that even though they are living with a serious form of cancer, there's no need for others to be afraid to be near them. They're still the same person, and that's what counts.
Years ago, people wouldn't even talk about cancer. They say the C word. Yeah. Well, that's nonsense. Nowadays, you have to, because every family, everybody has had experience with cancer. And it seems to me the more that we take it out of the shadows, the more that we talk about it, the less that people become afraid of it and can try to cope with it.
But remember, some days you may feel like having others around you, and other days you may feel like being alone. Go with how you feel. That's what matters. Patients often have said to me that no one really gets what they're feeling, and they long to speak with people in the same position. Patients have told me that when they connect with other people going through similar situations, they feel as if they are not alone. They feel more connected, they feel better understood, and frankly, they just feel overall better. An example of such a place is Wellspring and Pancreatic Cancer Canada. Hope is not just important, but it's vital for life. But it can be really challenging to remain hopeful when the future feels uncertain. Patients have shared with me how difficult it is to balance hope.
One of the things that I found with some of the people was that they fell into two groups. Either they were strong and wanted to become their best advocate, or they just gave up. And one of the things I tried to do is say, you can't give up. There are possibilities for you.
They sometimes see their situation as either being completely hopeful, or giving up. It's like there's no in between. But what we discovered was that sometimes what seems to be the most difficult and daunting step in living with pancreatic cancer is to acknowledge that one's life expectancy may be limited due to the cancer. Ironically, coming to terms with this can end up being the most freeing experience because they now can discuss more realistic hopes. By addressing the ultimate fear, patients have told me that this has given them the freedom to open up to new ways of living and hoping for things that are within their reach. For example, hoping for 10 more years of life with stage 4 pancreatic cancer can feel a little as if a big mountain to climb. But if the hope shifts to hoping that whatever time is left, let it be quality good time, this seems to allow for more living to actually happen. It can feel daunting and difficult to address looking at the future, but you may find that as you begin to talk about practical considerations that are important when facing a life-limiting expectancy, such as end-of-life plans, where you prefer to be cared for towards the end, and how you wish to be remembered, well, this can actually help you feel more grounded and in control. This conversation often opens up a whole host of topics, such as memories and important times in your life. Many times, people with pancreatic cancer feel regret that comes from knowing that there may not be the time left to do the things they really want to do. I've talked with patients over the years to perhaps think about what is important now in the time that they have left. What will give them the most meaning? I often stress that it's good to try and remain as involved in your life as possible and to think about what you would like to do.
One of the things that I did to cope, I'm the president of my condo board, and one of the things that people suggested was you really should drop off the board because you're not well. And I said no. One of the reasons why I stayed on the board, and sometimes I had to do conference calls because I was too weak from chemo to be able to come down to a meeting that I was supposed to be chairing, but I had somebody else chair it. But I felt as if I had to have something else on my mind, not just worry about being sick and getting well and what have you.
Patients have said when they try setting a plan or even a small goal for the day, even something small, that this can actually lift their spirits. So the message is, don't stop doing things that you do like to do just because you have cancer. You may find that some of your goals, though, are just not realistic because you don't have the same energy level or you can't get around the way you used to. So you may have to adapt them a little. For example, maybe you can't take that trip that you wanted to take, but perhaps you can do a little research, plan the trip, read about your trip, and share what you've learned with your family. You may also find that this is the time to do some of the things that you've always wanted to do.
You begin to realize that even little things like going to the store to shop, we did that together. That was a time to spend together if Joel was feeling okay. Or we go out for a coffee, whether we went to Second Cup or Tim Hortons. It's not a big thing, but it's something that was getting us out of the house, being together, having a chat. We're not the kind of people that like to have a meal or a coffee and just sit there and not talk. So it was a time when we did a lot of, just talking about this and that. Not earth-shattering things, but just being happy that we were able to do it.
I remember the first time we went to Tim Hortons. I felt so elated that we were getting back to a normal life. Just even going for a coffee at Tim Hortons was more important than going to the best restaurant in Toronto.
The important question to yourself is, how do I want to spend my time? What is important to me right now? And then, if you can, make it happen in the way that works for you. When things feel tough and you're having trouble dealing with your emotions and you feel you might be depressed, remember you're not alone. There are people and resources that can help you through your journey. Please let your healthcare team know how you're feeling. They are there for all of you, not just the physical part of you.
I really didn't have a lot of time during the day to think about me.
Feelings of anxiety and depression can negatively impact the quality of your life, but there are very good treatments that can help. Reaching out for support is not a weakness. Actually, quite the contrary. People who reach out for support demonstrate courage, knowing as people we need others to help us at certain times in our lives. One way of coping that many people find helpful is using techniques to what I call relax and digest.
The first thing that I started to do was do some walking on my own. And one of the things that became so important, and this may sound like, what people think, it's a tale. But I looked at every flower. I was so conscious of the landscape and so conscious of being able to go over and smell them. You know, it's the old business about smelling the roses. I literally was doing that because I felt as if I was coming alive again.
Can you remember the last time you felt relaxed? What did it feel like to you? Your breathing was likely calm and a bit slower, and you didn't feel that tightness in your shoulders or a feeling in the pit of your stomach. This is what happens when we practice relaxation. Our bodies and minds move from being protective to simply resting and digesting. Under stress, our bodies will automatically react as if there's a threat. Our heart rate goes up, we breathe faster, and all the blood goes to our vital organs. All this happens automatically. It is our unconscious at work and leftover protective mechanism from prehistoric times when man had to run from a threat. But did you know we can use the conscious part of our brain to create a feeling of calm? Yes, by consciously relaxing, we can slow the breath down, slow the heart rate down, and redirect the blood to all the areas of your body. The feeling created by this is calm and peaceful. The simplest way to achieve this is really to try to focus on your breath. Give it a try. Find a chair that is comfortable. Sit upright with your back well supported and your feet on the floor. At first, try to do this in a space that is quiet and rid of a lot of distractions. Maybe even dim the lights. If you're bedridden, you can do this in a lying position. Start to draw attention to your breath. Focus on your breathing. If you're comfortable, close your eyes. As you breathe in, try to allow the breath to enter slowly and completely into your lungs, filling them up. Then allow the breath to effortlessly release as you exhale. Try doing this for about 5 or 10 minutes. Your mind will likely wander, as it often will, so simply bring it back to your breath. You may want to think of a word such as peace or calm as you try to relax. You can also turn on your favorite piece of instrumental music to play softly in the background. There are many relaxation videos and podcasts available that can be used to help. Wellspring provides some of these videos as well as relaxation programs in the center. In conclusion, it is important to remember that we are all different in how much interaction we need from other people at different times throughout our illness. It can be very helpful to share your feelings with someone you trust, and at the same time, it can be really comforting to spend some time to be on your own in your own thoughts. I hope you have found this session helpful for you.